When starting a mobile, you just kind of find this balance between the analytics you do and the analysis of the market you do, and then you kind of want to innovate. This, I would say, is a driver of growth.
Welcome to Mobile Growth and Pancakes, a podcast by StoreMaven. We break down how and why mobile apps grow. In each episode, we invite a mobile growth expert onto the show to break down a specific mobile growth strategy, how it worked, why it worked, and what they would do differently. I'm your host, Esther Shatz. Welcome to Mobile Growth and Pancakes. I'm joined today by Mary Filimanchuk, who actually I'll let you introduce yourself first, Mary, and then we'll kick off the episode.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thank you for having me. So I'm Mary Filimanchuk from Minsk, Belarus, and I'm currently director of marketing at Apalon. And I've been doing mobile marketing for almost a decade now. So happy to join and happy to share my thoughts.
Just about as long as it's existed. So actually what we wanted to talk about today, usually we talk about growing a specific mobile app and the strategy around growing a specific mobile app. But today we wanted to talk about growing a career in mobile and growing yourself within the world of mobile, which of course Mary has done. So I guess, first of all, let's start with Apalon. You've been there for over 6 years now. How would you describe your journey at Apalon in one word or one sentence? I'll give you a sentence.
Let's say it's self-learning, self-improvement, something like that. So they usually say that if you work for a long time at one place, then at a certain point you kind of come up to the point that there's nothing new for you, there's nothing challenging you, and then you just kind of decided you want to try something more and go somewhere else. But for me, Apple was ever changing, ever evolving company. And so was my place here. And I was also challenged a lot and improved, I guess, a lot. I hope so.
It seemed like it. Let's go back to the beginning and start kind of how did you first break into the world of mobile? What was the first role like?
Yeah. So after I graduated university as a Chinese translator, I decided that I don't want to be a full-time Chinese translator. It's not my dream job, and I decided that it sounds kind of not what I want to do for the rest of my life. And I was really passionate about mobile, about technologies, gadgets, and so on. So I decided, why won't I try something in this sphere? And I started my first job as something called marketing manager at a small mobile game studio. But this was actually everything you can imagine for an online mobile game, from community management, tournament organization, and also app store optimization. So pretty everything we have that days. And this was awesome because I had experience in different spheres, different skills, and I was able to try myself in different verticals. And then I decided that mobile marketing is the place where I'm like most interested in, and this was my choice.
And what would you say was, I think the mobile industry and marketing specifically has changed a whole lot in the past 10 or so years. Thinking back to those early days, what would you say is the most different when you're looking back and thinking about the things you were doing day to day? What's changed the most?
Oh, so everything changed. So we didn't have that much analytics that day. We didn't have any kind of attribution. So we didn't have App Store analytics at all. So it was kind of a blind spot. And it was much more organic, I would say. And it was much more like different from the other world of business. So it was so for me, it was like mobile was something like standalone with mobile only brands, mobile first companies, some games and apps that existed only with mobile, and very few of them were cross platform. And it was a lot about organic, getting featuring from Apple, getting good relationships with Apple, getting some, those websites with games and apps reviews when you wanted to get featured, and also those free app a day campaigns. I don't know whether like
I remember those.
marketing managers even like got the understanding of what it was. So yeah, those paid apps, free app a day campaigns, something cross promo for apps was huge. It was a bit. A bit different than it is today. So today it's more for games, and that day it was also for apps. Featured rankings like top overall, top free, top paid was huge, was massive. It was much different than it was today, than it is today.
So you've had to kind of develop, I think the world of mobile marketing, like you said, there wasn't even analytics until 2017. It was a whole different ballgame. So as the world changes, your skills as a mobile marketer had to change as well, I take it. Can you talk through a little bit, what happened after you gravitated towards growth after touching a whole lot of aspects of mobile, and where to go from there? How'd you kind of take it up to the next step?
So let's try. Let's try to get there, to dig there. So when starting a mobile, you just kind of find this balance between the analytics you do and uh, the analysis of the market you do, and then you kind of want to innovate, because if you're not innovating, if you're not coming up with something completely new for the market, for the app store, like you want to innovate with your ads, with your creatives, you want to innovate with your landing page and what you test on your landing page. So this, I would say, is a driver of growth for and it was for a long time, and I think it still relates.
Agreed. I think, it's, even now we see today, obviously iOS 14 has changed a lot. New Google platforms has changed a lot. You never stop the innovation side. I think it's something maybe a little bit unique to mobile in that there's no flat zone when you've perfectly figured it out and you can just kind of smooth sail on what and just assume it'll continue to work. So I think that versatility is really important. I guess if we're talking about how, the changes that come and how much you need to be able to adapt and to try, what, when you're looking at somebody who's trying to enter the world now and trying to break into mobile growth and start their career, what's a skill that's a non-negotiable? Meaning at some point you assume a lot of things are going to change and you need somebody who's going to change with it. What's the most important thing to be able to have to master in order to be good at your job?
Yeah, so I will start with comprehensive skills. So it's kind of between comprehensive and communication. So you gotta be good at understanding what's going on and what's like your task, what's your job, and what's company is doing. And then you gotta be good at presenting yourself, and you gotta be good at advocating your ideas and your big bets. So it's kind of a communication comprehension mix where you advocate for some marketing activities. So sometimes you would need to describe and you need to sell what you do and why it is important. So I would start with that. And then I also want to mention that it's important not to be afraid of making any mistakes or like testing something that's not working. So not 100% tests or like activities will work, but it's important to learn from mistakes. So I would say not to avoid mistake, but to definitely to learn from them, not to make them like the same mistake twice.
I totally agree. So let's go back to you for a second. You went to Apalon about 6 years ago. First of all, what brought you there? You went from kind of a small indie type developer into Apalon have a whole lot of apps available.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I've had an opportunity to work with some like best-selling Apalon titles that time. I worked with like calculators, wallpapers, photo apps, whatever apps you were popular and were like mass market utility style of app that were kind of we wanted to enhance the user experience with something that is might seem basic at certain point, but certain features were definitely missing at that point with native apps, and this was like those spots and those places and spheres where we could innovate and we could succeed. So I wanted to share this story. I'm not sure that this is something that is usually told or lots of people know. So one of the Apalon's like first apps was Weather Life with weather with animated backgrounds behind the weather. So it was like some kind of a degree and stuff, and then it was animated backgrounds, and it was like released even before Apple come out with those dynamic backgrounds in their native weather. So during even when you're working with something so-called basic and something not you're not expecting somebody to really innovate in something like calculator or weather, but even then like the team was able to bring something completely new, some completely new experience to the mobile phones, to users, that even was then like something close to industry standards. So now we see dynamic backs on the native Apple weather, and it wasn't like that all the time. It used to be like this blue background and like sun or cloud in this. So it's always a place to innovate. So I guess everywhere I see mobile games, small games, big games innovate all the time. So I encourage everyone to think outside the box and to be more, I would say, probably to try something new.
I'm interested to hear about what it's like when you have more than one title. A lot of people get really deep into kind of really knowing their users and really knowing their audience and how do I market this one app to, in a way that's going to be successful. When you're looking at kind of a suite of apps and some that are very, very different, and I assume have very different audiences than the others, how do you manage something like that at scale?
Uh, yeah, it's kind of tough, I would say. As for today, we are kind of working. So one marketing manager today at Apalon usually works with either one or two really close titles. So we don't want the person to work with like photo editing app and then weather app. It's kind of hard, as you mentioned. The
Yes.
users are different audience, markets, and stuff. But there were some times that we work with completely different titles. I would say that it's probably, I think, I hope it's something close than when you work in an agency, and in an agency you can get a few titles and they will be different and from different like markets and etc. So it's kind of a a hybrid between product company with just one product and agency with lots of products. So it's kind of a product company with lots of titles, with broad portfolio. And for marketing manager, it's actually lots of advantages here because you gain experience from different verticals, different markets, different like it's completely different, I would say, topics. So for me, like health and fitness, entertainment, weather, utilities, it all sound familiar. And luckily, I have marketing managers who specialize in each topic right now. But for us, I feel it's closer to like some kind of an agency than to company with one product.
So how do you get, I think maybe it's challenging, especially before you actually start working in the world of mobile, to imagine working on a product that you're not straight out of the bat super excited about. You're not the target user for the product that's coming through. How do you manage to kind of build that passion, to be excited about growing an app, even if it's not the genre or the type of app that you yourself would normally download, interact with?
Yeah, part of this is probably working with user reviews, user feedback, and everything that happens on the market. So when you see users writing really 5-star reviews, how they enjoy the product, what they feel like, how it is like life changing, how it's making their life better, you just can't resist thinking that your product is something unique, something worse, and something good. So I would say closer connection to users, more those UX tests, creative tests, more kind of a cast dev thing will help you to build this connection and to become closer with your like target user. And with this connection, you just can't be ignorant to your product. And then you always strive to make this better, to improve it, to provide more value, to just to do more. And you always so when you innovate and when you test, it's always, for me, it's always something like interesting, whether my hypothesis will work or no. So it's kind of interesting to understand how well do you know your users, how well can you predict what works and what not. So it's also kind of a challenging, and it's also kind of a bringing you to this actual work and making you work harder, making you strive for more.
I have to say, it always breaks my heart when I have something that I think is going to work so well, and I look at it and I love it, and I'm like, this is what we should have been doing from the start, and then it fails miserably. It's like you can't help but take it personally. You're like, but it was perfect. Why didn't it work?
Yeah, but next time when it works, it's such a pleasure to understand that you did something that actually like performs well and you did a great job. So it's worth it, I guess.
Yeah, as long as it's like you said, as long as you can figure out from there why your perfect dream didn't work out, and make sure not to do it again, then you get the ultimate satisfaction of having actually figured it out and cracked the code. I'd love to hear a little more about the differences between being somebody who's a little more entry level in mobile growth to going into a more senior, more director level position. What shifts when you're moving out of what shifts in the day to day when you're moving out of an entry level role? What shifts in kind of the skills and the way that you're measured? How does that? I'd love to hear. I think you've also built a fair amount of people up and teams up. So I'd love to hear more about that from your perspective.
Yeah, so when you grow as a specialist, for me, it's on the one hand like a higher responsibility of your actions. So when you start, it's usually you get the task, you get it done, and that's all. You don't have responsibility for like the product performance. And the higher you get, the more responsibility you have. So you're kind of the person who is responsible for the performance and for everything. And to add, besides responsibility, I would say that the more like the higher level you are, the more, sorry to say it one more time, but the more innovation and the more like something outside the box is needed for this position. So you gotta have this more long-term vision. So you need to think not just for like months above or like a few months above, but you gotta think in like years perspective. So you gotta see these market trends that are just starting now, but they will emerge in the year and a half year, or in a few years. So you gotta have this more higher level vision and more strategic vision, I would say. And this is totally what you need to have when you're on a higher level position.
Do you think that innovation is a skill you can gain, you can train in, you can improve, or is it something that you just innately have?
I definitely think that everyone can innovate. It just depends on the approach. For some, it will be something like more natural and coming by itself. And for others, it will be researching more, gaining more knowledge about the market, the competitors, the renewals, and just bringing those crazy hypotheses. But it just for some people it comes out of nowhere, and for some people it just comes from the knowledge they have, the experience they have, the skills they have. So the more experienced you are, the more like kind of a blank spots you see, and you can move there.
I like that. So basically, if you're not born with that kind of gift, and I'm sure we all know people who just the ideas come out, you have no idea where they came from, but they're amazing. It comes to knowing the more you know, the more you're able to build your knowledge and see what not just you're doing, but I'm sure it comes to, knowing your product really well, your users really well, but also learning so much more about the industry, the platforms, what people are trying maybe outside of your direct space. It inherently opens up your kind of mind to other things that are happening and how you could translate that back into what you're doing. So I think that's a very good tip. um, I definitely in the beginning, I think anybody who's been in mobile growth as long as you have can relate to this idea that you start out doing everything. You're doing, social community, ASO, paid, some product, even, reviews, everything there. Nowadays, now that we have a little bit more, I guess, refinement in different ways that we look at growth, and there's kind of set efforts and set strategies, do you think it's better for somebody entering in to specialize in one area, specialize in organics or specialize in creatives or specialize in paid, or to try to tap into everything, maybe not on as in-depth a level, but on a broader scale?
So this would be my opinion, and I don't want to say that this is like the 100% true and this can relate to anyone, but I would say try as more as you can, and get as more comprehensive understanding of the market and how things correlate with each other. So it looks for me right now that you can't do just like I'm just doing organic or I'm just doing like brand awareness or something. Everything is connected. Everything will like impact one each other. So sometimes you will go hard on user acquisition and your organics will go down, and at the same time you will like really be successful in brand awareness, and then your user acquisition will show better results. So it's everything connected, and as long as you understand how to impact your like funnel and what's the best place to focus on right now with your app, because it's sometimes we have some pieces of the funnel that were super focused and refined and tested and so on. And on the other, on the other step, it's not optimized at all. So as long as you see the complete picture of how users interact with your app and how they know it and how they then build relationship with it. So you will be better at prioritizing what to do next and what's important. So yeah, I would definitely say that it was being a good specialist in something like a narrow field, but it's unreal to get there without understanding the whole market and all the relationships between everything we do in marketing, growth, user acquisition, app store optimization, and stuff. So I would say that you can start with anything, but after some time, it's better to build your own complete picture of everything and how things relate.
Yeah, I mean, definitely you see that in places where things are very, very separate. When one team is completely dedicated to, say, buying search ads, and a whole other team is completely dedicated to organic performance, and another team is focusing on product marketing. And when you have all those differences, you see the pain. You can see it as a user. You can see a company that's not telling one cohesive story, and you can see the fact that no matter what you do, your actions can't possibly achieve things alone, right? Because if you're not aware of what else is going on. So I guess, one of the takeaways that I'm hearing from you also is not just, even if you are specializing, let's say you're starting out in the organic discovery department, and that's your focus and that's what you're measured on, you still want to make sure that you're not alone there and only focusing on that. So that can be the skill you're working in day to day. But if you're not going to the other departments and building the full story of this is what we're doing as a company, as an app, you're blocking yourself. You have a ceiling you can hit because you can never go farther than what is available within your own box.
Yeah, and this is what we mentioned about those comprehensive skills and also communication skills. So you got to bring your understanding to other teams, other departments, if you're working separately. And you got to build those relationships between organic, paid, and everything else. So as long as you have the good relationships and you all work on the same, you're all working in one direction, it's not... they're not contradict with each other, then I guess your personal work will be multiplied. You'll see much better results.
Yeah, I have to say, I think it's a common thread of a lot of people who who I've spoken to on the podcast is at some point they'll tell you that part of their success is not only focusing on X or making sure they work really closely with this team, and this team. I think it's funny because it sounds obvious when you say it out loud, but I think it can be really hard to do when you have a lot of KPIs that you're focusing on and a lot of people that you're focusing on in one specific department, to remind yourself that you have to take it broader and take it outside.
This was my thought about how we have so many places to learn how to technically work with apps and promote them and technically work with app store optimization and stuff, but there are much less and much fewer articles or information about how you build those relationships between marketing, product, brand, and how you communicate with other departments and how you work on those it's probably soft skills, not hard skills, but they are not less important in mobile marketing. You can have all of those technical skills and you know how to promote apps and what impacts what. But if you're alone in your department and everyone hates you, then
yeah, I think it connects to what you're saying about, the point of innovation is if you're only doing your one thing, you're going to miss those opportunities because you don't know what's changing elsewhere. You don't see that kind of, wait a minute, here's something that's going on new in the world of, I guess the easiest example right now is IDFA is really going to change the way paid is working and performing. And if you're not kind of checking in with UA and seeing from the product side, from the UA side, what people are doing to accommodate that, can end up missing a lot of very interesting opportunities for how you can create a new branch of work, a new way of working that you never thought of before, because it's not just within your sphere.
Yeah, this
Uh,
idea changes everyone, not just like user acquisition or marketing managers, but the whole company.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, let's go back to the very beginning. If you could change anything about kind of what you've done in the last 7, 8, 9 years, is there anything you'd change?
Let's let's see. Can I say no?
You can say no. It's a sign of a happy life, I think. If
Probably start some activities, and I would probably work on something that we're working right now much earlier. So it's when you want to have more time on something. So you don't want to be like the last mobile company to like bring something to the market. So it's probably not about something that we did or haven't done, but about like the timing. So I think some things might be like um, might have been started or early, let's say like that.
right, so nothing that you would change except sometimes speeding it up.
Yeah, definitely.
Nice.
Speed is super important in mobile. It's like uh, sometimes you gotta be there like first, or you gotta make some changes very like time specific, or you'll be like you'll be missing the whole market or the whole trend or something. It's like when, for example, this year new iOS released, and there were like widgets, and those companies who were ready day one with their widgets and they made something to promote those, they got all the hype and they got all the success. And if you come up today with widgets in your app, it's almost
You're not impressive. Of course you've done. You should have a widget. Yeah, no, I hear you. So maybe it's better sometimes even to just go fast and make mistakes, release something that's not perfect, rather than kind of perfect your model and wait until it's too late.
yeah, it's always better to like try things and see what's working and then improve them, enhance them. So I would say that less is more sometimes, and sometimes you don't want to make some things perfect. You just want them to be something like a MVP, and you want them just to show the functionalities, show what's important, and then you'll have enough time to enhance it. But if you test, I think it's like one of my constant advice to marketing managers not to strive for like the pixel perfect creatives, pixel perfect everything. It's better test, iterate, and get learnings than to work on some concept like for a few months and then it will be outdated by then.
It's a really good point. I just spoke to somebody from SoundCloud last week, and she was saying the same thing. Get MVPs out that you can test and at least get the direction of this is what works before you invest a ton of resources in developing something only to find out after that it's not actually what you needed to be doing.
Yeah, because you need learners to prioritize yeah.
Okay, I think it's a really important tip, and sometimes also maybe it's an advantage of not always of being able to be a little bit more spread out and not focusing on just one product and just one audience, because it gives you that ability to understand it's okay if a tiny detail isn't in place, and it's okay if this isn't to the quality that we're used to having it, because what I need is data right now, and then I can iterate after.
Yeah, and there's like this 80% and 20% rule. And then sometimes for some people, there's like 98 and 2% rule. So they will have something 98% ready, and then they will work and like make it pixel perfect, then they will spend lots of time on those 2% that will absolutely not impact performance. But you gotta make sense of those when you need to stop, when it's good enough.
That's it's good advice, which brings me into the, well into the quick fire round and kind of connects to the first question. So you can repeat yourself if you want. But if you can give just one tip to, an aspiring mobile growth marketing person, what would it be?
Yeah, so for this, I would say that find yourself a mentor or some more senior person that you can rely on, and you can discuss something. So it's something like if you're fortunate to have your like community around you and your uh, close group of mobile marketers, then it's great. It's totally fine, and you're lucky there. But if you're just starting, it's not obligatory to have this community. It would be enough if you have just one senior person to help you to choose your first job, to choose your what to expect and what to focus on while you're working, and like your areas to grow, your like most needed skills to grow on the next step. So I would say find somebody you can ask for advice.
I love that you started before you actually take the first job. Don't go into the job and then find the mentor, but find somebody who's going to make sure you're not going to make a misstep even before you start. It's a good tip.
Yeah, and I would say that mobile community is super, like I would say it's inclusive and it's super nice, and everyone's willing to help. So I don't think it would be any hard to find somebody who is eager to help you.
I also think the mobile community is one of the most just sharing vocal communities that I've encountered. At least, people are really, really happy to kind of help give a bit of advice there.
Yeah, so I wanted to share that the amount of information that's outside and you can read and you can learn, it's outstanding. You can really get the profession, become like full proficiency with mobile marketing just by reading the right sources and the right blogs and right books, I would say.
All right, speaking of your favorite mobile growth resource.
Yeah, so like the first one for me is definitely your ASO like blog guidelines and etc. I really enjoy
Oh,
them. I think
Shatz.
yeah, they're good. They're really good. So I would totally suggest everyone who's just starting or who wants to improve the knowledge, like the basic understanding of how things work. This is really a good source. And then goes ASO stack, I guess, how they call it. So you gotta learn like some news that's happening and some interesting use cases. So this is a good place to go. They have mobile growth stack and app store optimization stack. So both of them are really good. And also mobile dev memo blog. It's outstanding, and the content is timely, and it's sometimes even above the time. So you just haven't understand something yet, so you just haven't caught the trend yet, and they're already on it. So this will be helpful to get this higher level understanding of what's going on in the market. So it's not about tips and tricks, but it's more about understanding the overall landscape.
Who is one person that, again, when the world goes back to normal and we can do these kinds of things, but who's the one person in the kind of growth world that you'd want to take out for lunch and why?
So I think I will answer like a little bit different from from what you asked. I would love to see my team actually in the real life. So we haven't met since like spring. And we haven't had the opportunity to talk to each other outside of the Zoom conference. So instead of having a lunch with somebody I don't know, but I'm kind of curious, but I don't know, I would be really happy to like see my actual team and to talk to them. I miss this a lot, like the real world communication.
It's a good one. I actually just saw my team for the first time in ages a couple weeks ago, and it was amazing. You forget, when you're only communicating about work over digital and whatever, you forget how much comes out of actually being together in the same space.
Oh. Let's hope for the better.
Yeah. Soon, hopefully. All right. The most important question, Mary, is what is your favorite kind of pancake?
Let's say blueberry ones.
It's a good choice. I miss blueberries. Okay, Mary, thank you so much for joining us. Where can people find you if they want to hear more or see what you're up to?
Yeah, please reach out and don't hesitate to reach me out. I'm available at LinkedIn or in those Slack communities I've mentioned. Always happy to help, discuss, and just communicate. Yeah, communication is a key.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And that was Mobile Growth and Pancakes. To find out more about StoreMaven and how we can improve App Store performance, visit storemaven.com. And then make sure to search for Mobile Growth and Pancakes in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts, or anywhere else podcasts are found, and click subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. On behalf of the team here at StoreMaven, thanks for listening.